Welcome to Sharp Podcast, the personal growth podcast from SON Development, where we help you get better at the things you have to do so you can spend more time on the things you want to do. That's all right, isn't it, that opening line? It's kind of gone back to what we used to say. So this episode is a sort of end-of-year roundup. As we go into 2024, it's a new year with new opportunities. And at the turn of the year, it can be useful to look back on the old year and review what's worked, what hasn't, maybe start setting yourself some goals. And not resolutions, because as you know, New Year's resolutions don't work. So how was 2023 for you? Was it a good year? Was it tough? At SON Development, we've had a real mix of stuff and an awful lot to be grateful for. We've done loads of live workshops, in-person stuff, trainer-trainer stuff, doing coaching skills, communications, sales, all sorts of stuff. There's also been lots of networking, and I've been lucky enough to build some really new, awesome relationships. I use the word awesome quite a lot, don't I, in my posts and stuff. It's a good word. In terms of remote stuff, you know, the kind of live by Zoom, we've done workshops on things like performance management, planning, communication skills. And then on the purely digital side of things, there's been the podcast production clients and some voiceover work as well. And we've launched Clear. Our first fully digital course is going live this year. So depending when you're listening, it might even be live now. As far as the podcast is concerned, it's been a bit mixed. I certainly haven't delivered an episode every month. And I hope you don't feel like I've let you down. I did say at the start of the year that we may not be up every month. I only really want to release things when we've got something interesting or relevant to share. At the end of 2022, we ended with a nice little trio of episodes with Nick Drake-Knight, where we talked about fast coaching, sales, and service skills training. And then I left you alone until April 2023. And that's when we kicked off with some second chance series, where we were revisiting some of our favourite subjects. And then in the back half of 2023, we got into some new episodes with new subjects. We talked to local business people, talked about their experience from finance to the subconscious and the importance of movement. Sound a bit funny, that, didn't it? The importance of movement. And we ended the year with a free sample of the new course. So I thought that if you're new to Sharp Podcast, this could be a useful introduction to what we do. Or for existing listeners, maybe if you've not managed to catch every episode, I'm going to give you a roundup with a quick sample of the 7 episodes we put out in 2023. So first, back to April. Now, I've got one of these what happened in websites. So I'm going to share with you here some of the things that happened in the months as our podcast episodes came out. So in April 2023, it says here that the Phantom of the Opera closed on Broadway after 13,981 performances. Elon launched his Starship rocket, and its first test flight exploded in 4 minutes. My favourite is in a Brazilian Portuguese language dictionary called the Michaelis Dictionary. I hope I've said that correctly. They added the word Pele as a new adjective to its online edition. So in that dictionary, the word Pele means exceptional, incomparable, or unique. I like that. In April, we put out our first Second Chance series episodes. These ones where we revisited some of our favourite episodes from the years gone back. Do you know we've been going since 2017? Did you know that? So in April, we featured Ready Steady Tomato, all about the Pomodoro design and how it works. And if you didn't know, Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. This is one of my favourite episodes to make. We used audio to visit 1980s Italy. We learned all about the Pomodoro techniques, and there was even a Steve and Lisa at the kitchen table chat. Here's a snip. If you don't want to find yourself scrolling through your phone in front of a woman with a big hat, spoiler alert, it wasn't really for the coffee. Specifically, we're in Rome, 1,000 miles away from Bradley and about 30 years back in time. It's the late 80s, and this is where our 2 students now reveal what they've got in common. So where'd you start?
Drink wine.
Yes, but it has to be Italian wine because this episode has an Italian theme. So, time for the takeaways. Get a timer, a mechanical one if you can. Get some paper and a pencil. Go and buy a big hat, or even book a long weekend in Rome.
Sorry. Okay. Right, serious.
So if you want to have a listen to that again, the links to all of these episodes I'm talking about today are in the show notes for this episode, or you can check out our archive on any podcast app of your choice. Just search for Ready Steady Tomato. Okay, in May, let's see what happened in May. So Carrie Fisher got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Ed Sheeran cleared a copyright infringement and was found not guilty of copying Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On. And Josh Freese joined the Foo Fighters after they lost Taylor Hawkins the year before, which was very sad. Our episode in May was another Second Chance series, and this one was all about work-life balance. Now, I really enjoyed making this, not just because I liked what we did, but I actually went on a personal journey and changed my view on work-life balance while I was making this, and whether work-life balance is something that's really achievable. Here's a snip.
I found it quite easy to balance work and life when I didn't have any work.
I want to ask you to consider a different perspective on work-life balance.
You cannot separate your work from your life.
But, we live in the real world. There are going to be things that we have to do that we don't want to do. If you're unhappy with all of this, you could change your job. The BBC says that 1/3 of the world's population lives on less than $2 a day. So, action number 1. Practical steps to change our perspective.
This graph looks boring, but this graph is the reason that I get excited and wake up every morning. And this graph doesn't even mean anything. It's fake data. What we found is...
So if you want to decide for yourself, the link, again, will be in the show notes for this episode, or you can search the archive of your podcast player. Just search for work-life balance. Or you can go to sondevelopment.com/podcast and have a listen to it there. Okay, our next episode was in July. What happened in July? Okay, so July was the premiere of Barbie. Have you seen Barbie? I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it? What do you think? Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about these. There were these heat waves in the world. Like Greece, the wildfires in Rhodes meant they had to move 19,000 tourists and residents. There was a Taylor Swift concert in Seattle that was so loud that it registered as a 2.3 magnitude earthquake. Here at Sharp Towers, in July, we published our first interview podcast of the year with Hayley Jones, who, according to Hayley, is not a stereotypical accountant. Now, I really like this one because Hayley is such a lively person. She's great fun to talk to. And she's not only a skilled and experienced accountant, but she's got a really interesting story about how she ended up running her own business. We covered lots of ideas and suggestions, demystifying accountancy, and how people can get in a better place with their finances. Here's the snip. Why is having a good accountant important?
One of the key things is we know what you need to be doing. So when you go out into business, your key activity is what you do for a business. That's why you've gone out to set up your company, is because you love what you do. You don't know what you don't know is a really key thing here. And accountancy doesn't have to be expensive.
We're normal people, Hayley. We don't speak your language. So I want to understand a little bit about what these terms mean.
10.
So we used a phrase earlier, bookkeeping. What the heck is bookkeeping? What is it?
So there's a real difference between bookkeeping and accountant.
Okay.
And you do find that people may go towards bookkeeping.
So if you want to hear the full episode again, the link will be in the show notes to this episode, or go to sondevelopment.com/podcast and Hayley will be there. Okay, in August. So in August, Trump was indicted for election conspiracy. These heat waves continued. August was the warmest month for 174 years. And Barbie in August passed the $1 billion box office figure, and that made Greta Gerwig the first solo female filmmaker to do so. Now, Trump and the Barbie movie, they certainly divide people. Our August episode was our second chance to revisit a subject that also seems to divide people, being positive. And again, this was another one where I changed my view while I was doing the researching and producing this. I used to be Mr. Just Be Positive. But over the years, I've changed, and making this episode was significant in that change. Oh, and it did feature the reappearance of Steve in the field, who was trying to prove how you can win just by being positive. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Here's the episode snip.
We are told time and time again, focus on the wishes and they will come true.
Where do you sit on the be positive spectrum? Are you a glass half full kind of person or a glass half empty one? Well, it could be that neither of those perspectives are actually helping you to get stuff done. And I'm beginning to question this idea that if you think hard enough about something, it influences the result. Right, here we go. Come on, Thatcher. You can do it. I'm sending my positive vibes. Faster, faster. I'm imagining you winning.
But now, researcher Gabrielle Edian says, maybe we should all dream a little smaller.
Positive fantasies and daydreams, as pleasurable they are, they have a problem when it comes to fulfilling our wishes and attaining our goals.
The idea of rethinking how we look at things positively is a healthy and sensible one to consider.
So if you like that and you want to learn more, again, the link will be in the show notes here. Search for Sharp Podcast in your app or go to sondevelopment.com/podcast and it'll all be there. Right, so we skipped September, now we're into October. So what happened in October? Madonna started her Celebration World Tour in London at the O2 at 65. Hope I'm selling out arenas when I'm 65. Now, this is interesting. Joe Biden signed the country's first AI executive order. This was a directive for the US federal agency's use of AI. And the biggest headline that you'll all remember was that wild beavers were introduced from Scotland into Ealing in London after a 400-year absence. True, apparently. I hope they don't move down to Brentford and dam up the River Thames, though. Speaking of movement, our October episode, we met the live wire that is Melanie Griffiths. Now, Melanie talked all about how important movement is, why it matters, and how easy it is to get it into your life. Here's the snip.
The biggest relationship we will ever have in our life is the one we have with our body. So it pays to pay attention to what's happening and how to get the most out of it and keep it going for as long as possible.
What sorts of things could people do that doesn't take up a great deal of time, but they could perhaps easily build into their routines?
Sitting at the desk, you can just rotate the wrists. So wrists into elbows, into shoulders. You can lift the feet off the floor. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there you go. He's doing it, folks. He is doing it. Handstands in a minute. You can literally lift the legs off the floor, circle the ankles. These are really good for just circulation.
So if you feel moved, again, check out the link in the episode show notes. Okay, penultimate one was November, so let's have a look at the events of November. So there was the new song from the Beatles, the Now and Then. So this was, I don't know if you know this, but this song was a hybrid of a John Lennon demo from 1978 that he abandoned. And then in 1995, they attempted to create the song with the John Lennon demo, but they couldn't do it. Then the new technology of today meant they could clean up John Lennon's demo, add in the tracks that they did record in 1995, add in some new strings and so on. Fun fact, the orchestra that were recording for this didn't know that they were recording for a Beatles song. What else happened in November? It was Earth's hottest day. So on November the 17th was 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels for the first time. And the UK saw David Cameron, the former British Prime Minister, back as new Foreign Secretary. So, light and shade in November. November was the third of our interview episodes, and this time it featured Sandy Doyle. Now, Sandy is a qualified hypnotherapist and trauma specialist. Sandy helps people bring joy back into their life by helping them move on from their past trauma. This was a really interesting episode to record. Sandy's stories, they are heartbreaking, but they all have light at the end because she's always helping people. And I love making this. Here's a snip.
Or emotional response to it anymore.
Okay, so they're remembering the event, but the physical and emotional response fades away. That part of their brain is not sending that signal to say you're in danger.
So, for example, when I start a session and I ask them about the trauma and I ask them to score it 0 to 10, as they're sat in the room now thinking about it. I get them to just close their eyes, think about whatever it is, and when they think about it, score it 0 to 10. And I'm looking for anything that scores a 6, 7 and above. Okay. And then by the time we've done this processing, that 10 will be a 0.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So we've talked about trauma. So if you want to find out more about that, as always, check out the show notes, check out your podcast app, or go on to sondevelopment.com/podcast. Okay, December. So the main headlines that dominated were the horrific situation in the Middle East still continuing after the ceasefire had ended. Taylor Swift was back again. She was named Times Person of the Year. I wonder if she won that because of her loud concert. Maybe there was more to that. What else in December? The rock band Kiss ended their End of the Road tour in Madison Square Garden, and in the encore, there were these big digital avatars of the group. I've just had a look at that on YouTube. It looks impressive. What I can also see is there are lots of people recording it on mobile phones, and they are all going to be disappointed when they play that back. Does that annoy you when you go to a concert, people recording the concert on their mobiles? Is it just me? So our final episode of 2023 was a first for us. We've never done this before because we've never created a fully digital online course before. For most of 2023, I've been working really hard to create Clear. And if you've seen my social media, you'll already know this. Clear is an acronym for 5 ways of dealing with the stuff that happens in a day to help you reduce your stress and help you focus on what matters. And time's important. It's precious. We don't get it back. And if we waste it by just doing more work or just being more productive, there's a real risk that we might miss out on the things that matter. And before it's too late, we realise and we can't change it. Now, the Clear model has been delivered in face-to-face sessions with teams and individuals, directors, entrepreneurs, IT people, retailers, students, a whole wide range of people, and they love it. Some people say it's life-changing. So I thought I'd put these ideas into an online course. That's being done. It's being tested right now as I write this, and I decided to give our podcast listeners a free preview. So in the course, each chapter has a podcast version of that chapter. And the idea of it is it's there for people to review, revise, or remember what they've covered. And we decided to give away a full podcast section from the introduction chapter free to our listeners. Yep, that's a free preview of the full audio of the first chapter. And in it you learn about what the course is, how it can help, and you meet Lucy. Lucy's our guinea pig, who tries the ideas out. She thinks it's life-changing too. Here's the snip. You know, it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it, that people say that today could be the first day of the rest of your life. But it is a truism that today could be the day that you change your relationship with some of the things that cause you pain at the moment. This course aims to reduce your stress, to help you achieve more by better use of your focus and your attention with the time that you've got available, to help you move away from the pain points towards more clarity, more calmness, more control in your life. Oh, and when I say your life, I don't just mean work. So the whole thing, family stuff, friend stuff, everything. But what do we mean by pain and pleasure? So for the last time, if you want to hear the Clear podcast in full or any of the other episodes that we've covered, go to the show notes for this episode, search on your podcast app for Sharp Podcast, 1 word, 2 Ps, in the archive, or go to sondevelopment.com/podcast. So that's us. As we head into 2024, I've got some ideas about what 2024 will bring. I'm sure there'll certainly be lots of chat about Clear, and I've got a few episodes lined up already where we're talking to people about the things that help you get better at the stuff that matters. Here are some teasers. How do you fancy managing your social media content in a whole quarter in 5 hours? Or would you like to find out how your energy could be your secret weapon? So, there's those to come. There's going to be lots more. I hope you have a fantastic year. I hope 2024 is absolutely the year for you. Don't do New Year's resolutions because they don't work. Just focus on the things that matter and ditch the things that don't. Now, if you're a new listener, thank you for listening this far, right to the end. I hope you like what you've heard, and don't be afraid to delve into the archives. There's loads of good stuff in there, I promise. So, here comes the end trailer bit, and then there's the music. Oh yeah, and here's the thing. Did you know that in most episodes, I've put a silly little like Easter egg thing after the music. Did you know that? Maybe you should have a competition to see who can find them. Take care. We hope that you enjoyed what you've just listened to. Have a look at the show notes for the episode, and there you'll see the links, resources that we used, and there's reminders there to help you get better at what we talked about. You know, making this podcast is a labour of love, and we genuinely do it for one reason: to help you. And we want to help as many people as we can, but to do that, we need your support. So now this is where you can help us. You can share our episodes on social media. You could send a link to a friend or help them subscribe on their device. And another free way you can support is to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher app. Thanks for your help. It's really appreciated. Bye-bye. Okay, well, there isn't an Easter eggy thing in this episode. Well, actually, I suppose now I've done this, I suppose there is. Oh, hang on a minute. Hello? Speaking? Yeah. Sorry, hang on. I've got this bloke on the line who says he's Steve in the field. I mean, it could be him. It's been a while. He sounds a bit weird. Let me just find out. Yeah, I'm here. No, I'm recording a podcast episode. No, it's not about AI, it's about humans. Yes, I know AI is the future. You what? You want to do an episode about AI in the field? And you've written it on ChatGPT. You know you can't just get ChatGPT to write stuff, don't you? You know you still have to know what you're talking about. You've already got a title. Go on then. ChatGPT for bricklayers. Okay, are you sure there's an audience for that? You've got a backup. Okay, what's that called? Use ChatGPT to become a qualified doctor in 5 weeks. Okay, have you been on YouTube a lot? Yeah, I thought so. It's not all true, you know. You do know that, don't you? I think you need some help. See you in the next episode.